I've had this Sega Saturn since my childhood. Sadly, it can no longer read CDs. The laser module, the part that reads the discs, has completely failed. And to make things worse, the motor that spins the CD doesn't work at all anymore. I still have the original controller along with an S-video to SCART cable that lets me get the best video quality possible. Ignore the modern LED TV, though this console is meant to be played on a CRT TV, like my Panasonic Quintrix at my parents' house. Unfortunately, I haven't brought that TV here because, let's face it, I probably break my back carrying it. Seriously, retro consoles shines on CRTs. They were designed for them. After testing it, the console powers on and seems fine, except it can't read discs, and a little research online revealed the solution, replacing the laser module. But it's 2025, and there are easier options now, like the Saroo cartridge. This modern solution doesn't require soldering or modifying the console. You just load games onto the included SD card, insert the cartridge, restart the console, and you are ready to play. No functional CD-ROM needed. Years ago, there was an SD card module that replaced the CD-ROM, but it was ridiculously expensive. Thankfully, the Saroo cartridge is a much simpler and affordable alternative. If you're interested, I can make a separate video about it. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. Even though the console works fine with the Saroo cartridge, I still want to repair the CD-ROM module. It's something I've wanted to do for years, and today is the day. We are gonna open it and replace the laser module. If you have the same issue, I'll also leave a link into the description for the exact replacement part I'm using. Just make sure to check which Sega Saturn model you own, as different models require different laser modules. Let's get started by removing the 5 screws underneath the console. Alright, with the front cover removed, now we have a clear view of the CD-ROM module and the power supply on the left side. These two components rest on a metal plate covering the motherboard. We won't need to remove this plate. Instead, we'll focus on disconnecting all the connectors from the CD-ROM module and remove it at all. The CD-ROM module doesn't look too bad at first glance, nothing appears visually broken or damaged. On top we can see the mechanism part, which includes the laser movement system. Everything is mounted on a metal frame that we'll need to unscrew from CD-ROM motherboard. Let's get started. One important note, we need to be extra careful when disconnecting this ribbon cable. It still connects the CD-ROM motherboard to the laser module. Now we can get a better look at the laser module in action, moving up and down with the help of the mechanical system. We'll replace it with this brand new laser module, which appears to be identical to the faulty one. To remove the laser, we simply slide out this metal rod, which looks like a small metal stick, then glide the defective laser module off and slide the new one into place. Finally, I'm getting around to this repair. I've been waiting for this moment for about 17 years. We secure the metal rod back into its original position. The new laser module fits perfectly onto the mechanism. We reconnect it to the motherboard and start reassembling the entire module. And yes, this console remained broken for so many years. After 2009, it was packed away in storage because it stopped reading discs. Around 2010 or 2011, my dad actually tried to fix it but couldn't get it working, so it stayed in a box for another 13 years. Everything seems to be in order, so let's reattach the model to the console. Let me know in the comments what your first console was and what games you played on it. For example, my first console was the Sega Saturn, and the first game I played on it was the Sega Touring Car. Yeah, I know, it wasn't the greatest game to kick off my gaming journey. Before screwing everything back together, we'll test the console to ensure everything is working properly. I can already see the CD spinning, which makes me extremely happy. The repair was a success, and thankfully the console doesn't seem to have any other hidden issues. Yet it's impressive how it still managed to do its job and read the disc despite the damage. The scratches are so severe that the surface looks almost foggy, making it incredibly challenging for the laser to read. In the past, my dad tried to test the console without the protective cover over the CD mechanism, so it's time to finally put that cover back in place. At the beginning of the video, you might have noticed the cover was missing, leaving the internal parts of the console exposed. Now I'll attach the top cover back onto the console without screwing it just yet. I'll test the console to make sure the CD doesn't scratch against the plastic. Everything seems to be running smoothly. We can now finish assembling the console by screwing the final 5 screws that holds the casing together. With the repair complete, it's time to have some fun. Let me show you the small collection of physical games I have for this console. Sega Touring Car. Despite being heavily scratched, this one still works flawlessly. I used to play this game back in the day a lot, but the thing is I didn't have like this 3D controller because you cannot play this game with normal controller, with 6-pad controller. It's a nightmare. So everyone who knows the Sega Touring Car knows the fact that it's impossible to beat this game only with the normal controller. One great thing about this game is definitely the soundtrack. It's fantastic, but the gameplay? Practically unplayable with this controller. I honestly think the 3D controller could be swapped for something even better, like the racing wheel accessory that was sold separately back in the day. If I ever get my hands on one of those wheels, I'll definitely make a video for you. Alright, let's compare this Sega Touring Car disc with a better maintained one, like the Blazing Dragons disc I got from Vinted for just 20 bucks. It's in an excellent condition, with no scratches at all. You can clearly see the huge difference. Honestly, I'm surprised that the Sega Touring Car disc still works. Back to Blazing Dragons, one unique aspect is the case itself. I believe this is the first edition of the European case design, which didn't come with a protective plastic layer on the outside, like later releases. Because of that, the outdoor cardboard deteriorates much faster. The interior is also different. The compartment for the booklet has less space compared to the revised cases that came later. This one wasn't part of my childhood collection, and yes, I still watch out for physical Sega Saturn games, especially the European versions, and I try to find good deals, because I think they're gonna go up in price in the future. I have to admit, this game isn't really my favorite, but I wanted to add it in my collection anyway. Even though it's in German, it's still a nice piece to have. The case just refuses to close properly. The first model of the European case wasn't the most well thought out design. Luckily, they eventually made a much better revision. Sega Ages Volume 1 was one of my favorite compilations to play, featuring 3 retro classics like Outrun, Space Harrier and Afterburner 2. Unfortunately, the disc is in a bad shape. It's scratched and parts of the paint has chipped off, making it unplayable. Right now, it only works for the soundtracks, and even restarting the console won't load the license to start the game. The same story goes for my copy of Pandemonium, which has a cracked disc, making it completely unusable. Maybe one day I'll find replacement for these CDs at reasonable prices online. Until then, I'll be relying on the Saroo card, which has brought many Sega Saturn's consoles back to life recently. These SD card-based solutions are a game changer for Saturn gaming, and make it so much easier to keep enjoying these classics. And now I can enjoy playing Pandemonium directly on my Sega Saturn without the CD actually working. I just put the game on the SD card, the original ROM actually, and I can play the game. I can now play any Sega Saturn game I want, thanks to a 128GB SD card installed in the console. This gives me access to a massive library of games directly on the system. For example, I can play Panzer Dragoon without having to spend nearly $1,000 on a physical copy. I can even try out unreleased games like this prototype of Sonic Extreme, a title that sadly never made it to market. The price of a Saroo cartridge can range between 70 and 100 bucks, but it's absolutely worth the investment. It allows you to enjoy an authentic gaming experience directly on the original hardware, and if you have a CRT TV, this console will truly shine. You can also use a much larger SD card like 256GB, which will easily hold a vast collection of games. On top of that, this cartridge works also as a memory card and as a RAM card with 1MB or 4MB extra, making it an incredibly versatile accessory for your Sega Saturn. But the Sega Saturn isn't just for gaming, it can also play music CDs. Let's test it out with this original Snoop Dogg album and explore some of the interesting features the console has for music playback. There are a few symbols above the XYZ buttons that indicates functions like replay, stop, play, or pause. while the left and right buttons represent previous or next song options. You can adjust the pitch of the music, making it sound either lower or higher. There's also a vocal mute option, which is pretty cool. I'll try to avoid any copyright issues by keeping the pitch adjustment on while we listen. Next, you can program the track's order. If you're not a fan of the CD's default track order, you can create your own playlist, selecting the order you want the songs to play. You can also skip or replay tracks in your chosen sequence. There's also an intro scan feature that lets you preview the beginning of each track, and you can switch between viewing the remaining time of the CD or the elapsed time for the current track. The shuffle button is another handy feature. It plays tracks in random order, keeping things fresh and unexpected. But one of the coolest features this console have is the repeat AB function, which allows you to loop a specific section of the track. For example, I can replay my favorite part of this song over and over again. There's even a hide buttons mode, which takes you on a journey through space with a little spaceship floating across the screen. It's like a fun retro screensaver. And of course, there's a button to reset all your custom settings for playback. Honestly, I think it's pretty awesome to use this console as a CD player. For the mid-90s, having these features was quite advanced, and it adds another layer of functionality to the Sega Saturn. In conclusion, I wanted to showcase my Sega Saturn in this video, which I also repaired. Even 30 years later, it's still functional and ready for gaming. I'm incredibly happy that I managed to fix the CD module, a fairly common issue for these consoles, but let's be honest, the laser module in a CD-ROM is bound to wear out after 30 years. I'm passionate about the Sega Saturn and collecting items related to this console. If you're interested, I can make more videos about it. I could show you how to set up or update the Saroo cart, how to add games, or even unbox and review games, accessories, or consoles I find online at good prices. Just let me know in the comments down below. And we've just reached 3,200 subscribers, and I wanted to thank you all for your support. I'm considering doing a giveaway when we hit 10,000 subscribers. What will it be? I'll let you know, so stay tuned. Until then, don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment. I try to reply to everyone as quickly as possible. See you in the next one.